there's like a conception of a lot of Jewish people living in Brooklyn. And I knew we were moving to like the Polish neighborhood. But I guess I didn't really think about what that would be like. But when we first moved here, it was pretty regular. Like, it just seemed like a neighborhood. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. How many years have we lived here? This is our third year. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Yeah, I think it's pretty nerve-wracking, actually, like more than you would expect to be a Jewish person living in Greenpoint, which is like so predominantly Polish Catholic. Especially around Hanukkah last year, like nothing happened, but you know, we put the menorah in the window like you're supposed to, and I just like was so afraid every night that like someone was gonna like throw a rock or something through our window, like, and that didn't happen, like nothing happened, but it was just like I just had like such an anxiety about it. I started noticing like the difference between me and like the rest of the older Polish residents who live around us. Particularly like when I started going to the Polish pharmacy that's on the corner. It's like a super small family-owned pharmacy, and so like most of the clientele was like elderly Polish people from the neighborhood. And like most of them are, if not all of them, are Polish Catholics. And there's like a pretty big Polish Catholic church nearby. But like I would go there pretty regularly. And at one point I went in and like I was just like sitting there waiting for my prescription to be filled. And this old Polish lady like looked at me and like zoomed in and was like, "Oh, are you Polish?" And I am Polish, but I just like got this super weird vibe where I like didn't really want to tell her I was Polish because I felt like, I mean, like I don't speak Polish or anything, and I'm Jewish Polish, like I'm not Polish Catholic, and I don't look like a Polish Catholic person, like I'm not blonde. Not that they're all blonde, but I look very, I don't know, like the stereotype of an Ashkenazi Jew is what I look like, pretty much. So I didn't want to tell her that I was like Polish and Jewish, and I didn't want to tell her that I didn't speak Polish, so I said I was Hungarian, which is also true. And then she started going off about how she like loves Hungary and like loves Hungarian people and like loved visiting Budapest, which is like where my family is from. But I've never been there, so it's pretty weird. Like, I don't know, like when we first moved here, like we found out that like down the street there's like this really good Polish bakery, and so like we would go there and get like pastries. But then like, you know, once people started putting up weird like Polish nationalist flyers and like anti-Semitic flyers and stuff like that, like they would put them up outside the bakery like repeatedly, and like I know because we would all like go take them down, and then like, you know, a couple days later they'd be back, so we were like, okay, so this is like, you know, a Nazi bakery or whatever. So the first flyers that I remember seeing were flyers that were advertising this protest that was like encouraging non-Jewish Polish people to protest this legislation that was trying to give land and assets back to Polish Jews and their descendants, whose land had been seized by Nazis during the Holocaust. So there were all these flyers for protests that we would tear down. No one really interacts with the Polish flyers because they're in Polish, and so a lot of people don't notice them, and like a lot of people don't care because they're like, oh, this is just affecting like the old Polish people. There was like literally like a neo-Nazi who like held a dinner at a restaurant like, 3 or 4 blocks from here, and so like that was advertised, and like I think like 100 people like showed up at this restaurant, and like journalists tried to get in and were turned away for like looking liberal, but it was like super scary, like knowing that there was like 100 Nazis like down the street, and so like we were all like, well, we're just gonna stay in the house and like not leave. I remember coming out of the subway like maybe a week ago, and I saw a guy like putting up the same flyers that I'd been ripping down, um, and it was like pretty surreal. I just like saw him carrying a bunch of the posters, and at first I thought like, oh, he's ripping them down too, and then I realized he was carrying like a stack of fresh posters. I was like, oh my god, like no, this is the person like putting them up. So I like went home, and then I waited, and then like later that evening I like went out and started like taking down the posters he had put up. Um, we all take down all the flyers and stuff, but it's always like, well, if I go by myself and I rip down a flyer in front of a neo-Nazi, like, am I gonna get beat up? um, I don't know, like again, like I don't know. Last year, like, I was scared to put up the Hanukkah, but we did it anyway. This year we're gonna do it again. Uh, and I don't know. I live here too.